Welcome back, everyone. This is the most terrifying note that was left behind in a motel room, and it's going to make you never want to stay at a motel again. The last person to sleep in this motel room left this note for whoever checks in next. But what does the mysterious note say? And what is it about the note that's so terrifying? You're about to find out. It all started when a new owner took over the rundown Super 8 motel.
For years, the Super 8 had been nothing more than a cheap place to lay your head if you were passing through town.
It had a pool, continental breakfast, and nightly rates that would never break the bank. But as time went on, the Super 8 began to fall into disrepair. Things were old, shabby, dirty, and people were beginning to think twice about staying there. It was then that a young entrepreneur saw an opportunity, bought the motel, did some much-needed renovations, and turned it into one of the best motels in town. People loved the new look, the cleanliness, and the fact that they could get a great deal on a room that was actually nice. Business was booming, but there was still work to be done. One day, the owner decided he wanted to see what people were saying about his motel online. To his surprise, he found a series of bad reviews that made it seem like his motel had always been horrible. And these weren't just one or two bad reviews either. There were dozens of them, and they were all from people who had stayed there within the last few months. What was going on? Did the previous owners have a secret they were taking with them? Was this why they sold the business? The owner was desperate to figure out what was going on and why so many people had such bad things to say about his new motel. That's when he decided to do something crazy. He vowed to stay in every room at the motel and find out for himself what was really going on, and that's when he found the note. He was in the middle of cleaning out one of the rooms when he noticed a piece of paper sticking out from under the nightstand. As he pulled the paper out from its hiding spot, he noticed that it was covered in what appeared to be blood. What was this all about? What could this mean for the motel? The owner carefully unfolded the note and began reading what was written on it. The writing was sloppy and hard to read, but he eventually deciphered what the message said. Whoever wrote this had clearly been scared enough to write in blood. What did the note say? And how will it impact the future of the motel? Let's find out. Don't let it in. Please. Whatever you do, don't let it in. Tried everything to keep it out, but it was too late. It got in anyway. I heard scratching at the walls all night, like something was trying to get out. Then I saw it. I looked under the bed and it was there. It was looking at me. I ran to the bathroom, locked myself in and called the police, but no one came. No one ever does. I don't know what it is, but I think it's evil. Whatever you do, don't open that door. If you hear scratching at the door, don't answer. Don't let it in. The owner was completely freaked out. How could this be? Is there a monster in the motel room? Or perhaps something even worse? He thought back to all the other reviews he'd seen online, and he couldn't help but wonder if all those people had seen the same thing. The reason the motel was always empty was because of the terrible creature hiding in this room. But that wasn't all. He had to figure out who wrote the letter. After all, it had to be someone who had seen something truly terrifying in order to write such a detailed account of the horror they experienced. As he continued his search, he found a name written on the back of the note. The name was Anna, so he knew that he needed to find out what happened to her. He immediately contacted the local police department and told them about the note. They had no record of anyone named Anna checking into the room. The owner described what she had written in the note and asked if there were any reports of strange activity in the area. The police said they would look into it, but they seemed skeptical. They didn't believe that there was a monster loose in the town, especially not in a motel. Still, the owner wasn't going to take any chances. He decided to check the security footage and see if he could identify the woman. After reviewing hours upon hours of footage, he finally saw the woman. She was checking into the motel with a man. He recognized her immediately from the security footage. She was the same woman whose name was written on the back of the note. But who was the man with her? The owner watched as the couple walked into room 13. Why did she go to that room? Surely there weren't any monsters in there, were there? But then again, how could there be a monster in one of the rooms? Wasn't it just a figment of her imagination? The owner decided to visit room 13 and see for himself. He wanted to put his own fears to rest and determine whether or not there was a monster hiding in the closet. As he walked down the hallway and approached the room, he felt a sudden chill run down his spine. He knocked on the door, but no one answered. He tried the handle, but the room was locked. He called for maintenance and asked them to open the room. As they entered, they found the room exactly as the owner had left it. There was no sign of a struggle, and nothing appeared to be out of place. The only thing that was different was the presence of the note, which hadn't been there when he last visited the room. As the days went by, the owner became increasingly troubled by the note. He couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more to the story. He decided to hire a private investigator to look into the matter further. The PI was able to discover that the woman from the note had indeed stayed in the room, but they were unable to find any evidence of a monster. As they dug deeper into the case, they uncovered something even more shocking. The woman from the note had not been alone in the room. There was another person with her, and that person had checked out early in the morning. But who was this mysterious person, and what could they have been doing in the room? The private investigator followed the trail and soon discovered that the second person in the room was the woman's husband. But that didn't make sense. If the couple had checked in together, why would the husband check out early in the morning without his wife? The owner was determined to get to the bottom of this mystery. He visited the room again and conducted a thorough search. He looked everywhere, but there was no sign of a struggle or anything out of the ordinary. It was as if the room was haunted. But that still didn't explain why the couple had been in the room in the first place. Determined to get to the truth, the owner decided to contact the husband directly. He tracked him down and introduced himself. The husband was shocked to learn that his wife had written a note about a monster in the room. He had no idea what she was talking about. The couple had checked into the room for a romantic getaway, but they had left early in the morning because they had an early flight to catch. The owner was puzzled. If the husband wasn't involved in any strange activities, then who had written the note? He contacted the motel's previous owner and asked if they knew anything about the room. The former owner was just as confused as the current owner and had no knowledge of any strange occurrences in the room. The owner was at his wit's end. He had searched the room, interviewed everyone he could think of, and found nothing. But he couldn't stop thinking about the note. What if there really was a monster in the room? Just as he was about to give up, he had a breakthrough. He decided to visit the room one last time and see if anything else stood out to him. As he walked into the room, he noticed something strange. The wallpaper in the corner of the room was slightly peeling away, revealing a small hole. He put his eye to the hole and looked into the next room. To his surprise, he could see a small, dark figure moving around in the other room. Was this the monster? The owner was stunned. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. He quickly backed away from the hole and began to formulate a plan. He would sneak into the other room and uncover the mystery once and for all.